CBC's rough day. Reporter stumbles twice as Carney Liberals blasted in press freedom bombshell. Canada's media landscape is currently embroiled in a heated debate, a cauldron of conflicting opinions and anxieties. Concerns are mounting over press freedom, the subtle yet pervasive influence of government, and the very role and responsibility of public broadcasters in the 21st century. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, the nation's public broadcaster, finds itself at the center of this storm, a focal point for both fervent support and scathing criticism. It faces accusations of bias, a perceived leaning towards the political left, and a cozy relationship with the Liberal government, now under the leadership of Prime Minister Mark Carney. This alleged closeness raises questions about the CBC's ability to provide truly independent and objective news coverage. This scrutiny comes against a backdrop of declining press freedom rankings for Canada, a worrying trend that casts a shadow over the nation's commitment to democratic principles. It has slipped to 21st globally, a significant drop since 2015, according to Reporters Without Borders, a respected international organization that monitors press freedom around the world. The organization attributes this decline to factors such as government overreach, journalist arrests, and censorship, painting a concerning picture of the state of media freedom in the country, suggesting that the environment for journalists is becoming increasingly challenging. Critics argue that legislative measures like Bill C-11 and Bill C-18 have further exacerbated these issues, adding fuel to the fire and intensifying the debate. This creates a climate where freedom of the press is increasingly challenged and the independence of media outlets is questioned, fostering an atmosphere of distrust and suspicion. Bill C-11, officially known as the Online Streaming Act, aims to regulate online streaming platforms, bringing them under the purview of Canadian content regulations. This raises significant concerns about potential internet control and censorship, with critics fearing that the government could use the legislation to control what Canadians see and hear online. Opponents argue that the bill grants the government excessive power over online content, potentially stifling freedom of expression, hindering innovation in the digital space, and creating a chilling effect on online discourse, discouraging individuals and organizations from expressing their views freely. The legislation's broad scope and ambiguous language have fueled fears that it could be used to censor dissenting voices, limit access to information, and ultimately control the narrative presented to Canadians. Bill C-18, the Online News Act, mandates tech companies to compensate news publishers for the use of their content, a move intended to support the struggling news industry. This has led to unintended consequences, such as Meta blocking Canadian news content on its platforms, a drastic measure that has had a significant impact on the Canadian media landscape. This action by Meta has sparked widespread debates about access to information, the role of tech giants in the dissemination of news, and the future of journalism in Canada. Critics argue that the bill has backfired, hurting smaller news outlets who rely on social media for distribution and audience engagement and limiting Canadians' access to diverse sources of information. The blocking of news by Meta has also raised serious questions about the power of tech companies, their ability to influence public discourse, and their accountability to the societies in which they operate. Sheila Gunn-Reid of Rebel News and the Independent Press Gallery of Canada have consistently voiced concerns about the marginalization of independent media outlets, arguing that their voices are being stifled and their ability to report on important issues is being hampered. They argue that government-funded media entities, particularly the CBC, receive preferential treatment, enjoying advantages in terms of funding, access, and resources. This limits diverse perspectives in Canadian journalism and creates an uneven playing field, making it difficult for independent media outlets to compete and thrive. Reid highlights instances where independent journalists were denied access to political events, questioning the fairness and inclusivity of the media landscape and raising concerns about the government's commitment to a free and open press. Prime Minister Mark Carney has expressed concerns about online pollution, referring to the spread of misinformation on social media platforms, a growing problem that threatens to undermine public trust and erode democratic institutions. While acknowledging the need to combat harmful content and protect the public from disinformation, ensuring that Canadians have access to accurate and reliable information, Critics argue that such statements could be used to justify increased regulation of online speech, potentially stifling dissenting voices and limiting freedom of expression. The debate over online misinformation has become increasingly polarized, with concerns about censorship and the suppression of legitimate viewpoints clashing with the need to address the spread of harmful content, creating a complex and challenging dilemma for policymakers. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been a vocal critic of the government's approach to media regulation, arguing that its policies are undermining press freedom and stifling independent voices. He contends that measures like Bill C-18 represent attempts to control the narrative, limit free expression, and silence dissenting voices. Poilievre advocates for direct communication with the public, bypassing traditional media channels he perceives as biased and untrustworthy, preferring to communicate directly with voters through social media and other online platforms. His approach reflects a growing distrust of mainstream media and a desire to connect directly with voters. In Alberta, Premier Danielle Smith has introduced changes to the Citizens Initiative Act, lowering the threshold for citizen-led referendums, making it easier for citizens to initiate referendums on important issues. This move empowers Albertans to have a more direct say in provincial matters, increasing citizen participation in the democratic process, including the possibility of a referendum on separation from Canada, a controversial issue that has been debated in Alberta for many years. While Smith has stated that she does not personally support secession, she emphasizes the importance of democratic engagement and addressing regional grievances. The changes to the Citizens Initiative Act reflect a growing desire for greater regional autonomy and a willingness to challenge the status quo. This is particularly true in provinces that feel their interests are not adequately represented by the federal government, leading to calls for greater control over their own affairs. The possibility of a referendum on separation, while not necessarily indicative of widespread support for secession, underscores the deep-seated regional tensions that exist within Canada. The interplay between government policies, media regulation, and press freedom in Canada presents a complex and multifaceted landscape, a web of interconnected issues that require careful consideration and thoughtful solutions. While efforts to combat misinformation, support journalism, and ensure fair compensation for news publishers are essential, it is equally crucial to balance these objectives with the protection of free expression, the inclusion of diverse media voices, and the preservation of a vibrant and independent media ecosystem. As Canada navigates these challenges, ongoing dialogue, critical examination of policies, and a commitment to transparency and accountability will be vital. This will uphold democratic values, protect press freedom, and ensure that all Canadians have access to a wide range of information and perspectives, enabling them to participate fully in the democratic process. The future of Canadian media hinges on finding a sustainable and equitable balance, a solution that supports both a thriving media industry and the fundamental freedoms that underpin a democratic society. The role of the CBC, as a public broadcaster, in maintaining impartiality and providing balanced coverage will also be critical, fostering public trust and ensuring a healthy media landscape.